So we're all dog faces. We're all very, very different. But there is one thing that we all have in common. We're mutants. There's something wrong with us. Something very, very wrong with us. Something seriously wrong with us.
You're listening to Comics Podcasting on the edge of civility.
Right. So let's get this boat on the show, or road on the boat, or show on the road, or what's the phrase?
I was in a horse. It was Trojan. Then we attacked the Greeks. You know, that's how it works.
Right. That's totally it.
Yeah, climbing a big wooden horse.
What the fuck are you
I don't know. You're talking about roads on boats on shows? What are you, Howard Keel, star of Showboat?
I don't know what that means, man.
I date a girl who watches musicals.
Well, you know, that sounds like a philosophical difference of monumental proportions. However, the other thing that's monumental is that we've made it to episode 93 of The Mean Geek.
Without a single fan.
No, I keep telling you, we have one.
One, yes.
John is going to start feeling very, very left out that you don't remember him.
I remember that we have one, but, you know, it's just so hard. 93 divided by 1 is just horrifyingly awful.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. That's a ratio that, like, no one else on the planet can claim for their fucking podcast audience. But that's what we get for irritating comic readers, one podcast at a time.
Well, you know, such a luminary as Lar DeSouza did refer to us as amusing but crude.
Yes. Yeah. And we did enjoy that review. Thank you very much. Come again. Where do you want to start, my man?
Well, let's see. We are currently, you're not feeling well, so this is one of the rare dry podcasts.
Yes.
But we are watching currently
Ip Man, which is an awesome, awesome martial arts flick set around the, right around the turn of the century, I guess. What, first decade, 1912, somewhere in there?
I haven't seen it, so.
It's about right.
Okay. We did, for those who pay attention to us episode by episode, last time we were bitching about SOPA, and the Tech Jedi absolutely called that it would not pass.
And guess what, kids? I was bloody right. Because
go.
it's a horrifying thing and not worth talking about. It's terrible. It's terrible. I can't yell like that anymore today.
No, probably not wise.
Alright, so, we got some really cool shit this week.
Did we?
Yes. Lar DeSouza sent us those commissions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Soon to premiere on the website when I get off my ass and show everybody.
So you've actually received them then?
I have, in fact.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time hearing.
They're looking pretty good. We'll display them. And I will be wearing the physical badge when I go and, you know, thank him profusely at Emerald City Comic Con this year.
Very nice.
So, that's 3 minutes of absolute bullshit. You want to start the books?
Well, we do have yet another appallingly large pile.
Right, but we are whittling everything down and we're making excellent progress on said whittling.
It's true.
So, you want to start with Scarlet Spider?
No!
Well, it's on the top of the pile, so let's get it over with. 99 cents at DCBS.
Alright. So, despite your absolute hatred of the Clone Saga, Ben Reilly, and Kane, somehow you chose to buy this book.
I am not intrigued by the book at all. Having read it, I have decided I will not be buying any more copies at any price. However, I desperately wanted to make fun of it, but I wanted to know what I was making fun of. Because in this universe of podcasting and reviews and comic books, one of the dumbest, most irritating things you can do is prejudge something and have no material to work from.
Which we've totally done. Which we have totally done.
Not often. And I have gone out of my way to prevent that.
By buying some truly random things.
And some truly wretched things as well. One of them being Kyle Yost's Scarlet Scarlet Spider.
I don't think this was wretched.
Well, no, okay, you're right. It wasn't wretched. It wasn't fucking good.
It was there. It was. You have. I guess, how do I put this?
It was incredibly standard.
It's a villain makes good, except Kane wasn't truly villainous, and plus they're not really developing. Kane is not Ben Reilly, but they're trying to turn him into Ben Reilly here. Like when he first showed up with the hair and the beard, I'm like, all right, well that's at least different. And then he, basically by the end of it, he's like, oh, I can be Peter Parker and just shave my head down. And it's not like the hair and the beard, but at least that was, Kane heroic under the mask, as opposed to Peter 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tiny little thing, but it just seemed so, I don't have the scars anymore. I can be a new person.
See, and that kind of like, who cares about the scars? You're going to be wearing a mask, just fucking go.
Yeah, nothing drove any interest in Kane to me to begin with, so I'm not dying to read more about him.
Nope.
The weird, fiery-based villain,
That's
the
right.
people buying a cargo container of dead bodies. Like, there wasn't a lot that made sense to me here. He saves an old woman by jumping on a SUV and popping the driver out the window. So he's fairly bad at the whole heroic thing.
He's totally bad at the heroic thing. And that's also something that hardly ever gets mentioned in these books.
What's that?
Is, when you do something like that, like stand in front of a moving car, what happens to the driver or any passengers?
I mean, there were little subtle things I thought were well done, like him screaming at the old lady and swearing at her for walking.
That did amuse me.
So I can't in any way. It was a meh thing. Like if you bought more of them, I wouldn't be like, why is this still here? But I'm not in any way like, oh my god, why are you cutting that book?
I just wanted to give it a try so that I could say I gave it a try, so I can say I'm not buying it because, and it was 99 cents.
Well, it's also Spider-Man is becoming Batman in that you've got the Amazing Spider-Man.
It's so far out of hand.
You've got Avenging, and then you've got the related. Spider-Woman is everywhere now. You've got him in the Avengers. You've got him in the Fantastic Force. You've got the Scarlet Spider book. You've got the Venom book. You've got Anti-Venom running around there.
There are way too many spider-related characters floating around.
So it's become its own little mini universe, just like X-Men years ago, and still, and Batman over, where there's just so much and so convoluted.
Right. And, that's why I'm sticking largely to Amazing, and Avenging is kind of on the block. And I hate to even say it, but I'm very glad that there's no Spectacular or Web anymore.
Yeah, because 4 books on one guy is rough. And when you look at what's going on in Batman, is you're not getting 4 quality stories necessarily.
Not always.
No, and sometimes not ever. There have been whole periods where you're like, wow, I don't need to be buying this many books about one guy and getting this little merit to them.
Right.
But,
which is why Incorporated had to go. If it hadn't ended where it was, that last one with the pseudo virtual reality horse shit would have been the last one.
Really?
Yeah.
It takes a lot for you.
That issue was shit.
The only Batman book I know for a fact that you refuse to pick up, even loosely, is Batman and the Outsiders.
Yes.
Everything else you've collected, up to including Brave and the Bold.
But I did try it. There was 7 issues of that. Ink? 7? 9.
6 or 7. Yeah, somewhere in there.
But I did do it. I just, wasn't going to keep doing it.
But,
however, to balance out Scarlet Spider, we have 3 issues of Dan Slott's spectacularly fabulous Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, to be fair, only 2 of them are actually Dan Slott's. The middle issue is a crossover with Daredevil written by Mark Waid.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. The Waid one.
So.
That wasn't a fart, kids. It was just tape on the bag. Yeah.
So we start with, I did find it a little odd that they did that in the middle. Like you introduce a new storyline and then there's suddenly this one shot. That threw me a little bit.
A teeny bit, yeah.
But it is a crossover. I honestly, why don't we take a look at the middle one first, because that is an individual and a crossover. So Wade's storyline introduces Daredevil and Spider-Man's relationship. as well as re-referring to the Black Cat.
Re-referring?
Well, I mean, it's been a while since she's made an appearance in Spider-Man.
But re-referring?
Yeah, but it refers to her all the time, and now it's re-referring.
Whatever you say. I think it's poor grammar, but...
It's because it is.
Uh-huh.
But,
it amused me very much that Matt Murdock is desperately trying to keep his cover, and he's not even trying to do it as a matter of safety or a matter of propriety or anything. It's utter form. Everyone knows Matt Murdock is fucking Daredevil, but because heroes have secret identities, he insists over and over again that he is not Daredevil. Simply because that's what heroes do.
It's kind of amusing. It was kind of neat to see. Wade is a really good writer, and
Yep.
You don't pick up his Daredevil books, although I might buy the first graphic to take a look at it because
Right.
I've heard some amazing things. And I always enjoyed the Daredevil Spider-Man relationship because even when every hero is like, Spider-Man's a tool bag. Daredevil's like, well, he's our tool bag. You know, they always have. One of the great things about Spider, like in Marvel in general, is that these relationships. DC has done it too as well. The relationships build over decades, and there's always been sort of a partner aspect with Peter and Murdoch.
They like and understand each other.
Right. Because they've both been on the outskirts of the big team so often.
That's right. They play off each other and they know each other so well. It's engaging.
The downside of this is that the fact that it was written by Mark Waid is that despite being Spider-Man's book, basically Matt Murdock makes him look bad on almost every occasion.
He does.
You blink first. You can't even tell if I'm blinking. So obviously there's a preference here for Murdoch. Now the storyline itself is negligible. The Black Cat is accused of stealing something which Peter knows she didn't do because he was hanging out with her trying to get laid and failing miserably.
Miserably. He had about as much success as I do.
Now, are you going to pick up the second part of this with a Daredevil?
Nah.
So this is forever to be less than understood.
Wiki. I don't care.
And then we jump back into Slot, which sounds horrible.
Ooh. Ew. Hello.
But you've got the return of the Sinister Six, which is pretty damn awesome.
This was fun.
And
Rhino and Sandman going at it. Doc Ock taking control of everything. The Winter Guard showing up with a weird, suddenly bald MODOK, which kind of creeps me out. I like the old MODOK better.
But the Winter Guard attacking the Intelligentsia. Like, just the fact that the Intelligentsia is an actual thing is so awesome. But then you have the Winter Guard attacking, which is the lowest of the low, really. You know, it's like, we need to kill a hero. Grab the Winter Guard.
Grab the Russians. Nobody cares about them.
And like almost everyone on that team has died once to twice. Like, I think it's like the 7th Red Guardian at this point.
Oh, easily. If we looked it up in, the Handbook of Marvel Universe, I'm sure there'd be a listing like half a page long of guys that have been the Red Guardian.
Yeah. But so they get fired off into space because of the new zero gravity cannon. And Doc Ock being annoyed that he wasn't invited to the Intelligence, and really should have been anyway. But there's so many little clever things that Slott does in terms of character development. Like Sandman and Wizard, instead of fighting, discussing the Frightful Four,
right,
was awesome. And then in the middle of the Sandman, and
it was only like 5 panels,
right? And then Wizard gets fired off into space, and Sandman's like, "Oh fuck, I like him."
Did you like the Red Ghost coming back?
I always like the whole Intelligentsia. I think is a great time, but the fact that the Red Ghost is in there and the Wizard, like the Mad Thinker and his android, and taking out Electro because he fixed it. Like there were so many little details that were well done. But in the end, the Intelligentsia get the shit kicked out of them, And the 3-dimension chess with the cannon and the rest of their teams between Doc Ock and MODOK.
Right. It was just all around awesome.
It was well done. And this is, again, an example of, like, using guys well. Taking all these villains that have, the Wizard has been a joke for years.
He has.
And
I don't think anybody's going to debate that one.
no one's taken the Red Ghost seriously, possibly
Since
ever.
1962.
Even then, you're like, wait, the guy has space monkeys? You know.
And, just saying that phrase, space monkeys, ought to be awesome. It really ought to. Maybe that's our title. Space monkeys ought to be awesome.
Well, they are. Space monkeys are awesome. But that's a lot really, and this was, back to the article, I've said this a dozen times, like, I don't like just throwing away villains that have been around for years when there's potential to them. And what he's done here is he's made so many of these guys pertinent between Gauntlet and vamping them back up, and what he's done with Ock is amazing. The intelligentsia are being used really well. So I really like everything that's happening here. And it's going to go very badly for Peter soon, which is also awesome.
Well, I'm lost. Hang on.
Either the intelligentsia gets trounced. MODOK has been outfought by Doc Ock, and Sinister Six now has a zero-gravity cannon.
And then that is the whole issue.
Yeah, Peter barely makes an appearance.
Which is fine with me. But it kind of leaves me weird when we go to 678, and he starts pretty much a whole new arc out of nowhere.
What do you mean?
Well, how does this tie in with the last one?
678?
Yeah.
Go to the last page.
Last page coming. He's standing on a clock face. What did I miss?
This issue is basically Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Dealing with his job.
Yeah.
And one of his co-genius think tank buddies creates a doorway into the future.
Right.
Peter Parker, he steps through the doorway, buys tomorrow's paper, and comes back with a snack.
Right.
Peter Parker walks through it, and the entire world blows up. Because Spider-Man gone for 24 hours can lead to some seriously fucked up shit.
Which is kind of huge scale. But that wasn't my real point. I mean, did we actually just see a genuine done-in-one with the Sinister Six issue?
No, it's a prequel, if you will.
Ah, okay.
It's things are going to happen. But in the meantime, Peter's still going about his day of trying to do everything at once. So he's forced to run a gauntlet that involves, of all things, Silver Sable.
Yeah, really, Dan? That's where you're going on this one?
I thought that was awesome.
Back to the Sincarian well?
And Flag Smasher?
Now, I was torn about seeing Flag Smasher again. Because Flag Smasher was one of the first truly new villains I ever read. Way the fuck back in 86.
Yep.
He came out in Cap, and with his anti-jingoistic point of view and his whole nations are what tear us apart when we should be one race, one humanity, and the fact that we have flags is a terrible, terrible concept.
Also,
no one has seen him for any consistency.
To my knowledge, it's been a long period.
It's been a very long time. He popped up here and there, like in shadows, and then he never went anywhere. But now he's back in fucking Spider-Man.
I love it. Again, you're taking.
Well, I mean, he was a pretty. I have nostalgia for him, but I recognize that he's not the subtlest of fucking characters.
But he doesn't need to be. Like, not every storyline has to be about hidden secret plans. Like, this guy wants to, you've got a superhero from
I'm not
country.
even talking about his motivations as a whole.
Well,
he
uses
himself
a giant
is
mace.
not. Yes, he uses a giant mace to smash shit in the name of not having a flag around.
But I think that's awesome.
And I kind of dig that.
But what?
I don't know. Fine, whatever. You're fucking right. He's awesome.
I'm not saying he's awesome, but you're taking a guy who's out there And instead of being like, okay, he's vaguely dumb. Fine. I will use my mace to crush your flag. That's why instead of paper, rock, scissors, it's not, mace and flag. Because there's no flag wrapped mace. No, it doesn't. It's a fucking mace. There's no game like that. But you're taking the villains that are out there and using them to their potential. And not all potentials are world-beating villains. Besides, Flag Smasher's responsible for one of the greatest cap lines of all time. Oh, good, they're willing to shoot their own. Never a good sign.
I forgot about that one.
So I'm totally enjoying it. I think Slott's run on Spider-Man is an unsung hero. And like we talked about in the last episode, there are so many phenomenal writers out there, but I think this is the kind of fun comic people should be reading.
Yes, absolutely. So, endorsement. All
Totally.
done.
Oh, absolutely.
If we had a badge we could put on the site and say, we endorse Dan Slott's Spider-Man fully and completely, we'd do it, but there's no way to do that, so fuck it.
Maybe we should do like a, book of the month or something.
Everybody does a book of the month.
Do they?
No, who doesn't? Come on.
I don't know. I don't look at any of these things.
Everybody does that shit.
Everybody who's more successful than us, perhaps there's a hint here.
All right, there's a very good point. There's an unrecognized pattern there. But what I do recognize, is that Fraction's run on Mighty Thor is every bit as good as his Iron Man shit.
Yeah, I am totally enjoying this
and
as well.
What has been happening lately is that no one remembers Thor because Ulick has taken his fucking place.
As Tanarus.
And only Loki knows it.
Because he got hit by lightning.
And, of course, nobody trusts fucking Loki.
There's just such a depth. The hardest book to write, historically, or to me anyway, of the big players, because, making Sleepwalker exciting is probably insanely difficult. But in DC, Wonder Woman...
I challenge anybody to do that. Not that any of them are listening, but, if you are listening and you have any kind of contact with Fraction, Wade, you know what? Fuck it, Morrison. Directly challenge them to find and write and produce an exciting Sleepwalker fucking issue.
Morrison Sleepwalker would drive you insane.
But you know what? It might be interesting at least.
But
it might be irritating.
Yeah.
But
to return to my point, though, the books to me that are the hardest to write are in DC Wonder Woman.
That is, I agree with that fully.
And in Marvel Thor. Because you're balancing the heroic and the god aspect. And that's so, there's such an epic quality to make, the mythology of it done well with the actual day-by-day heroic storytelling.
Right.
Think of how many poor periods there are for both those books as opposed to high.
Oof. Thunderstrike.
But there's such a level of, Valhalla and this and that. And the great thing about Fraction is he's drawing from this well of all these previous stories. Like the Demagogue is making another appearance.
Right. Gorge,
sorry.
But
Demagogue.
A Demagogue is a whole other thing.
Yeah, totally different thing. Thor versus a Demagogue is not coming. Demogorge. That's a huge point.
Although he could probably write it.
So, to me, Thor's always been an incredibly challenging book. And think of, even with Straczynski's run, you had Valhalla on Earth and all this, not Valhalla,
Asgard.
Broken rainbow bridges, just the most inane crap. And trying to deal with the whole Odin aspect.
Right, yeah, you have to have things be big. But you can't have them so big that they're no longer believable.
Well, I think that's the problem.
Within the context of a comic book.
Even with that, though, I think the problem with these books is that the scope is so much larger that when you're Wonder Woman and it's like, I am a god, I just cut through things and destroy it. And it's like, I'm going to open a private detective agency. I'm sorry, what now?
Well, they figure, I know what they're looking at right at that point. They're like, let's put her in a situation she doesn't belong and see what develops, because that should be, the duck out of water thing should be interesting.
Right.
And it never really is for
But
anybody.
And then look at the villain pool.
Ugh, Cheetah?
Or for Thor. Like, take Asgard and, Niflheim and all the dark elves.
Niflheim and Svartalfheim.
I love not pronouncing this shit
Jotunheim.
correctly. Don't correct it. But the fact of the matter is that you've got, like, Ulik the Troll. You've got Frost Giants. You've got Surtur. You've got these big, in scope. But on Earth...
Yeah, who the fuck does he fight on Earth?
My point.
Nobody.
So you have to balance mythology with heroics every time you write them, and that's insanely difficult.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
So, and Fraction's already brought in, that red alien race, and now he's got this huge storyline going on. He's really doing that well. He's had Galactus.
Yes. And I'm all kinds of down with this. Give him something big, but keep it on a believable scale within the context of the milieu.
Right, because one thing that drives me insane, and it's a small continuity point, but I just think it's poor writing, is when you have an event in one book that's so large that the entire world is threatened, and it's
never acknowledged in other books.
Right. That drives me nuts.
Yes.
The only book that can kind of get away with that is Superman, because he solves it in like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So like people are still putting their boots on.
Their
booties.
yeah.
It's like, holy crap, nuclear bombs are falling on Earth.
Oh wait, Clark's got it.
Yeah.
Never mind. That reminds me of a gutters issue.
Oliver, you can put your bow down. The nuclear bombs have been taken care of.
Did you see that gutters?
No.
It was about the new Justice League with Superman coming up, and he's like, "Yeah, here's the thing. Anything that happens, I'll just throw it in the fucking sun." And all the other characters like, "But I could deduce what's happening." No, sun. I could wrap it in my lasso. Fucking sun. Over and over. I could put a green bubble around it. Fucking sun. I can find out why the alien came to Earth. Yeah, after I chuck it in the sun.
It's a viable entity. So, like with Superman, because of the scope of his powers, you're required to have huge storylines.
Right.
And with Thor, you do to a degree too, but there are other guys that can take out some heavy shit.
Oh, sure. Frost Giants will do it every time.
And the other unsung hero, we talk about Fraction a lot, is the art is phenomenal. It's got this light sketch style to it.
Yes, and Fairy's art is really, really, really good. The inker, yeah. Pascal Ferry and Pepe Larraz. Awesome stuff. And the colors, I usually couldn't give a shit about colors, honestly. They're colors. His cape's blue, it's fucking blue. I don't care.
It's not my first thought, I'll give you that.
But Darmada and Martin and Quintana are banging it together on this one. There's so many nice gradients and separations and just really unique stuff. Like the Frost Giants being all semi-turquoise and semi-glossy instead of just random ice blue, which is, kind of bores me to tears.
Well, I like that the book has kind of taken things from the movie. Like the Frost Giants are somewhere between the classic Frost Giant and the film Frost Giant.
Right. What else is there? They're just Frost Giants.
You want me to talk specifics on the book? Right. Right now, if you're not reading this book, you don't like comics. I don't know what else to tell you.
And believe me, if you're the kind of person who puts your nose up at Thor, you shouldn't be listening to us, for pity's sake. You should be listening to the hipster cast or something. Or you've been reading way too much fucking gaming if you don't like this. I like gaming and you know it, but you see my point. Right?
I think that this is a great book, and this is the kind of thing that makes comics.
All right, let's
great.
phrase it like this: if you're not reading Fractions Mighty Thor, you're a pretentious douche. How about that?
It is a word we often
I
go
read
to.
graphic novels. You need to eat a bag of dicks.
What is wrong with you?
What? That's the new phrase.
Eat a bag of dicks? That's
It
the
is.
new phrase?
It's not just mine.
Oh, good. I'm glad
I picked it up from somewhere else.
I'm
I
glad
didn't
you
make it up
shared
on
it.
my own. Speaking of fraction goodness, the Mandarin running around again awesomely in Iron Man 511 and 512. And something I personally find awesome.
The living laser.
Well, the living laser is pretty fucking cool, but that's not even where I was going either.
Where are you going?
Halfway through 12, we realize that they're bringing back the Dreadnought droid.
Dude, they brought so much back. Like, you've got Stain and the Dreadnoughts.
Yep.
And Mandarin basically has a dirty dozen, of which we've only seen
Yeah.
a few. We've got the living laser.
Yep.
We've got Blizzard.
Yep.
We've got
Who
Spy
showed
Master.
up in here? Blizzard was in here.
Yep.
Trying to make a pretty good point about, look, man, we can be independent and we can die, or we can just go to fuck along with it and get paid. Fuck it. We're safe. Why do you want to risk dying?
The highlight of this, for me, was that the living laser is sitting there going, dude, if he blows one of us up, because apparently the Mandarin being, as far as teamwork and motivating go, sort of old school, decides to put bombs in everybody, including Stain, who's a jackass.
Well, you know what? I don't have a problem with Stain getting blown up.
I think Stain's awesome, but like he's a admitted jackass. You know, and the man is like, come on. My father was crazy. I thought he was an idiot. But the great thing is Blizzard, the living laser's freaking out. It's like, if he blows one of us up, the rest of us should openly rebel.
Yeah, so the rest of us can die? Fuck off!
Blizzard looks at him and goes, let's look at this logically. There's maybe 12 of us. What makes you think 12 of us are going to drop the Mandarin?
Which says a lot about the Mandarin's stature in the villain community.
Oh, well, to be fair, I mean, when one of them is the Blizzard and another is Spy Master, like, it says something about the 12, too. But yeah, it totally does, and it's developing this idea that certain villains, there's a higher echelon, and so much of that has been lost in returning to the same well, so to speak. Like, for years, you're like big villains, Red Skull, Doom, depending on Namor, depending on the time of week.
Yeah.
The guys, X-Men have done that really well in that certain guys are like monstrosity level. Like, I may not enjoy the X-Men to a great deal, but you know what? Magneto's gonna bring some shit. And Toad won't.
Toad won't.
But so many, like, high-end villains have kind of been lost over the years, and in DC they're doing the same thing, like rebuilding Sinestro to the level that he should be.
Yes.
Sinestro should be the guy that fucks shit up.
He should not be, however, Captain Cold.
You're right. Captain Cold should not be like, oh my God, the world is threatened by Captain Cold. It's like, oh my God, that bank might get it. The window of the jewelry store should be threatened by Captain Cold.
And that's all Cap has ever really wanted. Mm-hmm. Just a few extra bucks on the side.
I want to make Barry look stupid and get laid because I have a bunch of free jewelry. I would like to not wear my hood for the rest of the year. That's my goal. Which is what I always liked about the Rogues. They're all about early retirement.
A noble goal, really.
Except for the top.
Well, the top, who knows what the fucking top wants? Come on. Have we said enough about Iron Man, or you want to cover some more shit?
No, I feel good. Again, if you're not reading this...
You don't like comics.
Yeah, you know what? Get your ElfQuest. If you listen to comic podcasts and you don't read Iron Man, I just don't understand you as a fan, quite honestly.
Bringing us to Batman and Robin 4 and 5, wherein Ducard's son has decided that he's going to go and take Damian under his own goddamn wing, make him an independent asshole, and probably, of course, try to kill Bruce with him.
Oh, I think there's no probably there. The whole thing is, they're developing nicely the Damian Bruce storyline.
Right. Considering
that, everything that's been thrown at Batman since... The best thing since ever, really, but since Damian's been rolled out, Bruce hasn't been around for a lot of it, and then coming back in the middle of the most convoluted DC continuity ever. Like, Mxyzptlk could have made this shit more confusing. But now you've got Damian with his father. The best thing about Dick Grayson's Batman was the Damian
Yeah, their little interplay
Dick
there.
comparison, in the way they were working together. And it's like, dude, you're a psycho. But now Damian gets the king of all absentee fathers. It's like, I need you to be a father. Well, there are 3 other Robins out there screwed up beyond belief that will tell you that I'm not good at that. And
All
then
too true.
you've got Alfred sitting there going, you're not good at that. And Alfred is trying to be, the caring mother, I guess. Like, I don't fully understand.
I think he's trying to be a generic parental figure.
But the development of all that is nicely done. And it's really true to the character. Bruce Wayne has failed at this every time.
Spectacularly.
Dick Grayson took off in a huff.
Jason Todd got blown the fuck up.
Yes, and turned into a psycho after he got blown up, which is really challenging.
And
Usually you don't die and then go crazier. Like, that's hard. You've got to screw somebody up royally.
Yes. And Tim, he's just like, well, I guess I wanted to be Batman when you were gone, but now I got to be independent, so see ya.
Well, the thing with Tim that you have to take out separately is Tim is the most well-adjusted.
He is.
But Tim also had a father.
He did. And then, hello, Identity Crisis fucked him over again.
Fair enough, but you know what? Even while he was being Robin, he at least had a male role model going, have a dinner.
Yes. That's a very good point.
Very different.
That's a very good point. Whereas,
Spoiler, I don't even want to talk about.
Poor Damian over here, he was like, you can stand now, take this knife and kill that puppy.
Yeah, I have been training with the League of Assassins since I was 3. You're tough but distant. Tough but fair is annoying.
But I don't mind it. It kind of disturbs me that they went to the young child drawing disturbing pictures thing to reveal it all.
Well, I mean, I thought that was lazy, and that's a word I use a lot.
That's exactly my point.
But there's Damian is such a complex character in the idea of what he's been through in such a short period of time and how screwed up he is royally.
Right.
And for somebody to train with the League of Assassins to be as secretive and intelligent.
How would he? I mean, it's a very obvious quote cry for help that he left him in a findable place.
Not even that they even exist. Like, if ever there was a character that wouldn't leave things in paper.
Yeah, that's another point where I wasn't very good at expressing. And why would he? There was never any indication he would ever draw anything to express himself.
Yeah,
he expressed
honestly,
with fists.
Yeah, Damian colors? No. It sounds like an actor recording a bad rock album. It's so unlikely. Bruce sings, Damian colors, both stupid.
Excuse me, kids.
So that really bothered me. And honestly, the thing with DC and the art, which of course is huge, but there was a 2-page spread that was just so rough looking compared to the norm that I've expected.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was not the hottest art I've ever seen.
And I can't, obviously when you can get fired for being late, you have to.
You gotta get it out.
Yeah, you're gonna cut a corner here or there, but I was surprised because I hadn't seen much like that before in this book.
Right. All too true. Batgirl's still not growing on you?
I don't care for Batgirl. I don't think that I think Oracle was a lot more interesting in the DC universe than Batgirl is going to be.
Right.
Particularly since you've got Catwoman, you've got Batwoman, you've got Huntress already floating out there.
Yep.
To bring back another one. And then, the issues that are inherent here, like I just got out of a wheelchair, please don't shoot me.
It all seems a little formulaic and easy, really.
They haven't done anything too stellar with her. She's already, keeping things from her father. She's confiding in a new roommate. Her mom has just come back into town, and the big reveal of why she left is floating
static with
out
her
there.
mom, because, no one... I understand drama, and I understand that drama grows out of conflict and very little else. But she's already fucking with her pop, right? She's already irritated with him. Did we need her mother to be irritating as well?
And then the whole thing, like, Gordon knows that she's Batgirl.
Right.
So he sicks a detective who's obsessed with Batgirl because blaming her for the death of her partner on finding Batgirl seems like a really bad plan.
And not thought out at all. But at least, and this is actually probably a good point for me to end this.
What's that?
We finally find out that she got a neural implant to give her legs back. So now that that mystery is solved,
but how did she not know that before this?
Mm-hmm. What?
How did she not know?
No, she knew that. It was her. She got her implant.
Okay, so
she wasn't revealing to us that that's what it was.
I see. Because that was the whole confusion, the way she was like, I got my legs back, I don't fully understand it.
Well, I mean, she's not a biomechanical engineer.
Yeah, well,
you know?
I thought it was misleading, but I didn't fully understand the scope of that.
No, I didn't think it would be something as simple as a fucking processor myself, but I thought it would be something truly mysterious, like you said. But, you know, because, you know, miracle is one thing, and when you're talking comics and you say the word miracle, you think a scale of magic, you know? And, you know, an implant just doesn't cover that.
No, that was anticlimactic. But the thing with the highlight is that I like Batgirl. It's a nice, innocent person fighting crime. Not a dark and disturbed.
Right. It's just not. It doesn't reach out and grab you.
No, the book isn't blowing me away. But the one thing, because I've been very critical of it, and the one thing I do want to say is it's nice. It's nice to have a female hero who's not seriously screwed up.
Right.
Who
that
goes
is a
out,
good point.
And fights crime because she was bookish and she wanted that experience. And, you know, it's somebody who's still kind of living their 60s origin, if you will.
Yeah.
So that aspect of it I appreciate. You know, a jolly hero would be nice. But so far, you've got her. She's in Gotham. Every storyline is dark as fuck.
Yeah. Over and over
think
again.
about this new weird villain, Grendel, that they've introduced.
Gretel.
Wow, I'm not getting the small things right today. Not a good day today.
As in Hansel and
Gretel, who can't feel anything, and it causes a father to shoot his 3 sons and try and commit suicide over the number 338.
Yeah, that was beginning to irritate me by the third panel.
I didn't mind that because obviously they're building something up with it. You know, it starts off being. I thought it was actually really well done in the sense that they start off asking for $3.38, and only later you realize it's the number, not the.
Yeah, but then they start shouting 338 over and over and over again.
It was subtle with a hammer, but it was subtle at least. It's not like she immediately went, oh, this must be about the number 338, you know? But so you've got this nice innocent girl in Gotham confronting the most horrible things that happen in any city in the world in the DC universe.
Right.
Like, no one vacations in Gotham.
They really don't.
You know,
they shouldn't.
Right. You go there, you get raped, you get robbed. Your son turns into a psycho killer because he's menaced by the scare. Like, how was Gotham? I have 2 less family members and 3 less fingers. How was Athens? You know, like.
How was Athens?
No one takes a slideshow in Gotham, alright? That's just a given.
No. Snyder's Batman?
The Council of Owls thing is really intriguing to me. Like, this whole back history.
To me, it's finally getting a little more depth to it.
It is. I do think, I'm totally frustrated with the Batman mythos as a whole.
Right.
That everything in Gotham is 4,000 fucking years old and really weird and odd.
And I've noted that myself. Not everything has to tie into everything back to the beginning of time.
So I was really excited in the first of the 2 issues where it starts off with a nice little conversation between Dick and Bruce about his history. And please stop trying to get yourself killed every 4 minutes. It's exhausting. Like, go see a movie. You know, in the other book, you're banging that hot newspaper reporter. Go do that.
Yeah, try again. Just do it again. It's all right.
And I think that, you know, it really held both characters well. And if you're going to do Bruce Wayne, you know, in the Batcave where he's still mostly Batman is the best Bruce Wayne. You know,
right.
Out in the world in the suit is so off-putting.
It can be at times. You know, he needs to put on the face for the other characters. But it's still not interesting to us, even though we know he's doing it as an act, because he's still saying inane bullshit, and that's just irritating to read.
And then you've got him studying, digging up his own ancestor and studying it, which is just, not something everybody does.
Little bit creepy.
And he discovers he was murdered. So now he's in the sewers looking into a crime from 1930 because he discovers a type of stone, marble, which is different from the granite that the sewers are made out of.
Right.
All right, so that's, first off, there's some high-end detective for you.
Finally.
Not
Hello.
And he's captured by the Court of Owls and placed in the labyrinth.
Which is a creepy-ass place.
So
and
I'm
very
very excited
confusing.
about this. There's the end of 4. Then we go into 5, and the labyrinth is basically him going, Banco,
yeah, he's just sitting there
Loco.
having, hello, when did Grant Morrison come back?
It's bizarre. And since I don't understand it, it was off-putting. I was really excited by the end of 4. I'm like, and then in 5, with what's going on in the labyrinth, there's no development. It's not like he gets crazier.
No, they put the stoplight on it.
They acknowledge he's been gone for like 10 days.
Right.
And they do that in a really clever way with the bat light
Yeah.
exploding by the end of the issue because it's been on
so long.
And so there's a real emotional quality to all the different characters and how they're reacting to Batman being missing.
Right.
So we know he's been in this labyrinth for 10 days. And so he goes batshit loco. Except, accent on batshit. The thing is, he's still Batman though. 10 days in a maze? The guy should be doing mental push-ups and, for him to go that crazy.
Yeah, that's a little wonder-inducing to me. I'm like, look, did they drug him too? Is that fountain got some kind of chemical in it like he was worried about?
Like he died, ended up in a cave as Cave Batman, and handled it better than walking around in a maze.
Right. He wandered around displaced through time, and he's like, all right, well, I guess Ook over there just needs a pat on the head, and I can find another way to, go be a pirate now.
Right.
And he did fine, like you said. A mere 10 days in a labyrinth, and he's like, hey!
Yeah, like seriously, fucking loco. Seeing his own parents turn into, as zombie/owl people.
That was creepy.
Yeah, there's a lot of creepiness in here. And I gotta say, Greg Capullo, who's an artist I've always enjoyed to varying degrees. Like, I remember when he took over for McFarlane on Spawn, and he had a nice style that carried that, and he's really tightened it.
Honestly, in those first few issues when he did that, I didn't even notice.
I think he's a really strong artist, but what he's doing here is he's almost becoming, his style has changed dramatically since those days.
Oh, yeah.
And you're seeing, to me anyway, a big similarity between him and Chris Bacallo, who I really like.
Okay.
Like, there's a cartoon aspect of it that isn't cartoony.
Right.
And I think Capullo is stronger. And Bacallo, some people's hair and whatnot, you're like, oh, dear God.
I can see that.
But there's a couple things that just throw, like, when there's a sequence in this where one of the Court of Owls guys supposedly stabs Batman, and he's got these weird cartoony white with a pinned out eye while he's being stabbed.
Right.
That just seems so un-Batman-like.
Yeah, that was a bit off.
So as much as I'm enjoying the art, there are a couple things that took me out of it.
Right.
But all in all, like, this is my favorite Bat book right now. I think Snyder is an excellent writer. It's developed really well for me.
It's the one that's truly worthwhile. Absolutely right. Now, you've made some improvements and you've been engaged a bit more by Catwoman 4 and 5 now.
It is growing on me. I've been really thinking about it. Like, I so many books where women are the lead. I'm like, wow, am I a misogynist and didn't know? Or are these just terrible? And the thing with winning, it was actually a point made in probably the number 2 thing that's driving me insane about the DC 52. The number 1 thing being that it exists.
Right.
But the number 2 thing is...
See, you wouldn't listen to me. I told you that on the whole, this would probably be the most horrible idea anyone's ever come up with.
Do you remember at the beginning of this podcast where you talked about how prejudging on podcasts is the worst thing you can do?
Yes.
Shut up. So, the number 2 thing is the level of advertising the other books, or even the same book within the 52 books.
You know, the in-house ads are absolutely killing me.
Like the full page spreads of the same cover of a book that's been out for 3, like it's just, I've seen an ad for OMAC in like 9 of these.
Yes.
And then you've got the interview pages in the back and whatnot.
Right.
And the thing about Catwoman that really, I was reading Winnick and, what's the artist's name?
Gillum March.
Thank you. And the little interview they had, the 1-page interview about Catwoman. And Gillum March was talking about how strong Winnick was and that every single issue of Catwoman is ending on this awesome cliffhanger.
Right.
And it really is.
That's true, particularly for.
And so the last issue, she was surrounded by the police. So she gets out of that by basically running.
Actually, we're already seeing a pattern there.
Yeah, because that ends up being the cliffhanger for issue 5. But he's developing the character really well in that the whole sex aspect thing I saw was so childish and unnecessary in the first 2 issues.
Yep.
And it was just this, to me, pointless drama. Like, okay, Batwoman and Batman.
Yeah.
Batwoman and Catwoman. Woohoo, different book. Adults Only presents. But Batman and Catwoman having sex seems so unnecessary.
No, I really didn't see any kind of point.
And the graphic aspect of it, well, maybe they're going for that key level of drama to a book that, while not aimed for children, is, I mean, how many kids love Batman between the movies and the cartoons? It seemed unnecessary.
It really did.
Now, Catwoman, of course, isn't aimed for the Batman crowd, but the character is about to be in the next movie. You know, there's certainly a crossover that could go poorly between those.
Yes, absolutely right.
It's been made very clear this book isn't for kids, so I'm not in any way implying, you know, the whole Fox nude cast. And yes, I said nude cast intentionally. But I didn't think that was necessary, and it really tailored my opinion of the book.
Right, and then it turned around quite significantly. She's still running around being incredibly sexy and, you know, showing
there's a big sex
a
aspect.
lot.
Fine.
A lot of times, but it's no longer simply there to get your attention.
Well, it may be, but the other thing is Gam March does that really well, and was probably hired with that in mind. Why wouldn't he draw it that way? So, fine, that's an aspect of the book. That doesn't negate the quality of what's going on. And I thought like the dead fence thing and her female best friend had been done a lot.
Yeah.
But here in 4, you start to see a development in the character that's interesting, which is that now she's scrambling and doing things badly because she doesn't have a base. So he's doing things with the character that I think are interesting. So I acknowledge that. I will say, however, that in 4 you also have the super-powered Reach villain, which is so awful.
And, you know, there's something in 5 that I wanted to note here that irritated me. And it's not anything that's remotely important.
Okay.
It's absolutely not. But it still ticked me off as I was reading it.
What's that?
The emphasis on which points during speech are being emphasized.
Only you.
Yes, only me. Because I wasn't looking for things to be irritated by. I really, really, really wasn't. I was not. But I read anti-gravity beams. And I'm like, no one speaks like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, no one has anti-gravity. Like, Reach was so awful. I'm sorry. But then, because of her, you have that phenomenal cliffhanger at 4 with her in the middle of the air, totally fucked.
Right.
And then there's a nice moment of reality where there's a total lack of reality where she managed to save herself by whipping something and pulling into the side and crashing into a bunch of stuff.
The important part about that is she stopped panicking and thought for the half a second that she had left.
And then dislocates a shoulder, and has to deal with that with somebody hunting her. So there's a level of tension in the writing that suits the style of this book.
Right.
And you've introduced a pretty male cop chasing her, Alvarez, which I'm sure will go somewhere obvious. But, and then you've got this weird, how do I put this? You know, there's crooked cops that Alvarez is noticing that she's involved with robbing. Like, there's there's still some things that are moving very quickly, but you're diving into these books, and there's going to be a challenge to get everything you want on there.
Right.
But I think of all the books that in the whole 52 that you've made me read that I want to smack you for, this and the next book I think are improving at the highest level.
Good.
Now, for you, is Catwoman? We talked about this last week, and I don't recall. Is Catwoman a done or?
I'm gonna go a couple more.
So it's actually improved for you as well then, because
Yes.
it was going to be cut, right?
It was in fact going to be cut. It was on the block, and the decision was made. But now he's got subplots. He's got places to go. He's got a little more characterization going on. No dependence on Batman being around, which is important if she's going to carry her own goddamn book.
Right.
So, yes, I'll give it a few more.
Okay. So we're cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely right. Now, what you said that you're happier now with All-Star Western.
You know why?
Why are you
Because
happier
it's
now?
dumb. And let me explain that.
You're killing me.
No, let me explain that. I love old school Jonah Hex. You do not. I mean, you don't hate it. I'm not implying like, what? It's not like I hate that book, Bill. I know this, but I will happily dive through dollar bins looking for old Jonah Hexes. And the thing is, you read those old storylines, and they're patently ridiculous.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
A town filled with dwarf gunfighters, or a tree that guys ride by and suddenly get caught up and hung on. Like the most random insanity occurs in these books.
It was the Silver Age, man.
Right.
What do you want?
And when you get to this one, now you've got the return of Jeremiah Arkham. Whoopity crap. You've got a pointlessly hot nun.
Well, he
Whoopity-crap.
didn't really leave, really.
Right.
He was still trying to get the fuck out of town, and Arkham was just like, oh, I'm here, by the way, just so you know.
But there's two things about this book that really impressed me. One is very subtle, and that's you've got Jonah Hex getting involved in a kidnapping.
Yeah.
And the reason that's really subtle is in the very first issue of Paul Miati's first run on Jonah Hex,
Right.
Jonah Hex is chasing after a kid who's kidnapped. Maybe not the first issue, but that first graphic that I have.
Gotcha.
And the kid, it ends horribly with the kid ending up dogfighting and getting rabies and dying, and him burning a bunch of people alive. So, but then you come to this, and a rich guy finds Jonah Hex, is like, I want to hire you because of a kidnapping, and Jonah Hex's first reaction is, I don't like kidnappings. So that to me is phenomenal.
That adds a whole new level. I
Right.
didn't even know about that, so that makes me appreciate it even more.
So that to me is phenomenal by Paul Miati to bring what he's brought to the character back to that character. Like, okay,
Right.
kidnapping sucked for me. I don't want to do it anymore.
Don't forget Justin.
Yeah, fair enough. Paul Miati and Justin. And then you've got all these kids being kidnapped for years. Hundreds of kids being kept in this mining colony hidden underground in Gotham, which is so dumb.
Yeah, how do you hide that in a town as bustling and huge and
But that's the great...
because that is the character of Gotham. You can hide shit like that in there because nobody cares.
Taking Gotham out of it, though, that's classic Jonah Hex. Rides to a random town filled with something horrible and evil and shoots them all. And then you've got, he finds like the 7 guards, he's knocking them all out, and then there's the lead, pockmarked, wart-covering, bald fuck lead guy. And this is Jonah Hex in its entirety. Like, some people may have preferred the Timothy Truman run, where there was a mysticism about it. You've got werebears and things like that.
Nah.
Riders of the Purple Worm, the Winters brothers as albino gunfighters, Johnny and Edgar. But this is the classic Jonah Hex story.
And I'm happy about it.
So with the return to that, the book took a huge upswing for me.
Good. I'm glad to hear it because it's staying.
Is it really?
It is.
I'm a little intrigued.
It was not. I was not being bothered by it. I like I said 1,000 times before. I don't like how everything ties into everything from the the
I
dawn
don't think
of
there's
the
any
Big
reason
Bang.
for him to be in Gotham.
No, but the stories are good, and like you said, it fits the character itself very well.
But yeah, I will dig up a couple of old Jonah Hexes and let you look, and you'll see like there's a total difference between this and what they were doing earlier. Baby and the dog.
What about the baby and the dog?
Apparently we're going to be talking about Action Comics next at number 5.
Our last issue.
Our
Thank
last
you very much.
issue.
Come again.
So we open with Kal-El and the whole
Krypton blowing
world.
up thing.
So Kal-El is the smartest guy on the world's smartest planet, basically.
Yep.
It's like if we had an entire world of super intelligent beings who also are all insanely hot. Like, you've never seen a fugly-looking person from Krypton.
No, you haven't
Nope.
at all.
Or maybe, occasionally they're really large with a beard, but other than that, they're all kind of attractive. So it's basically perfect. And of course, because it's perfect, it blows up. But it really irked me that you've got this incredibly noble, decent human being who realizes his planet is about to blow up. No one believes him. So he decides to hide in the Phantom Zone in this, which is a clever idea.
Which is, yeah, it actually is.
But he decides to save him, his wife, their child, and the family dog.
I don't understand why you're having such a problem with that.
Because it's not a Steven Spielberg film. Let the dog die.
Oh, dude.
You're gonna bring.
How are you so heartless to dogs? The kid needs a companion.
Grab the neighbors. Hit the orphanage. Save like 12 children. Don't save the dog.
What? The kid's gonna grow up with no friend, man. What are you talking about?
And the worst part is, this is gonna lead to, because then the Phantom Zone
You
somehow.
just plain hate dogs.
Not true. Not in the slightest true, and you know it.
Well, then why are you acting that way? You're killing me.
Because when you pick animals over people, you stop being really smart and become kind of a dick.
There's only so much room in that little Phantom Zone
No,
capsule.
there's not. It's a zone. It's got like 9 douchebags in it. I think you can fit more than a dog. I'm surprised he doesn't have the silverware.
Alright, that's just silly.
But then somehow the Phantom Zone comes to life, and the dog saves them by jumping in and attacking General Zod.
No.
Which is, I assume, who that was.
It must have been... It was that, no, the Phantom Zone is not fucking alive. Okay, please, Grant. Quit dropping the LSD.
And from there we go to the first appearance of the Kents.
Where we find out that they were infertile, which, they could have just left it alone and called it.
I didn't need a mini storyline about
not
infertility.
Really. No.
Like, do you remember that classic Fraction mini storyline in Iron Man about Howard Stark? And that's how Howard met, it's like big drinking, big shooting, big banging, super science guy. And there's your title. But this, on the other hand, was, we can't have kids, but we're in love. And we have a deformed cow.
Yeah, that is a contrivance of epic fucking proportions.
I love the fact that I like to think of it almost like the Avengers movies, where you've got that agent who shows up in all of them. Except this time he gets a dead cow in a spacesuit. Like, that just makes me happy. I'm sorry.
Do you want to see Agent Coulson with a deformed cow?
I just see, because there's a DC version of that guy. Who's like, oh, hey, yeah, let me go. There's been a rocket. Let me go check it out. Oh, you brought that back home. Let's dissect it. It's a cow, jackass. It's got 5 legs. It's still a cow. Space cow. See, that should have been in the new 52.
Space cow?
Space cow.
It might have been fun. You don't know.
The 5-legged cow from Krypton.
That's awesome.
That's a book for the ages. I'm sorry. But yeah, action can go bye-bye. Although, honestly, because of the total ridiculousness of this, was probably my favorite issue thus far. It made the most sense.
Nothing else was making sense. How much sense is Wonder Woman making now?
We open with Brian Azzarello. I think is an amazing comic writer. I love almost everything the guy has done. We open with Wonder Woman taking Hermes, Strife with a Y, and Zora, random pregnant chick, to a nightclub. She's just been kicked out of, so she needs to commune by going to a nightclub.
Yeah, that was kind of odd. Although, the Wonder Woman we saw just last week in Justice League, who had never experienced ice cream, may still be, keen to experience new things, and in a club wouldn't be so far out of. I can't.
But the sense of community, and you also missed, to me, which is the only reason to have Wonder Woman go to a nightclub, is there weren't 35 people hitting on her.
Yeah, that made it just plain strange. Why?
Like,
how does any woman looking like that go into a club and not get hit on instantly?
I've seen a woman that look 1/3 of that go to a nightclub. The rare times that I've been something that could be called a nightclub.
Yeah.
And they get macked on literally from start to finish.
Yep.
And she was standing by herself watching, like, that's just prime ridiculousness.
Of all the unbelievable things that could be in these two issues, that tops the list.
Right. So then there's the alienation of Strife, who was either trying to be sympathetic in the worst possible way or was just pissing on her. I couldn't really tell. And Wonder Woman couldn't really tell, which was the more important aspect. But there's just some weird things going on in this book. Hera comes down to see Hippolyta to deal with the fact that, oh, you've been lying to me all this time.
Oops.
My husband banged you. We need to talk. And by talk, I'm going to turn you into a statue and all of your followers into snakes.
Yeah, that kind of irritated me. I didn't want that to happen to the Amazons. I want the Amazons to be left the fuck alone, man.
You know what? Honestly, this might be the best thing because it takes the Amazons out of the Wonder Woman book for the time being.
For the time being.
Like, who knows how long they'll stay snakes? It doesn't seem like a permanent solution.
Well, no.
At the same time, how many... We talked about this earlier, how hard Wonder Woman is to write. And if they're an island of 2,000 Amazons...
But they're not all demigods.
There's some complexity to writing this. So taking that equation out might not be the worst thing. Turning them into snakes is a little obscure. Didn't see that one coming. So, which leads us into now there's a war. Zeus is gone.
Right.
Some random British guy shows up named Lennox, who's apparently some demigod.
Yet another half brother of, Diana.
So now we're starting to enter the lightning thief level here.
Lightning thief, great.
But you've got King Poseidon showing up, who's the most horrible looking fish thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, they pulled him up from the coast of fucking Madagascar or some shit.
I don't think he was a Chris Rock talking zebra.
Coast of Madagascar.
Okay. But there's some seriously odd designs in this book.
Well, when you're a god, you can, you can do what the fuck you want, really.
And then you've got Apollo making a play for King of the Gods, talking to War.
Right, that was 2 issues ago, though. None of that happened here.
Try again.
All right, so it happened here. Right, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all the same storyline.
So there's a lot of complexity, and the book is moving along nicely. I think when 52 first started, this was, one of the pinnacle books for me. And honestly, it's gotten so odd that other books are starting to eclipse it, but I'm still enjoying it. It's not my first choice of the 52 now.
Well, we'll see if if he does the arc thing, or if he does the continual motion thing like 100 Bullets.
What do you think of it thus far?
I'm largely digging it. I want to know what's going on. I'm not irritated by not knowing what's going on like I was the last time they pulled off a sweeping change with Wonder Woman. Thanks, JMS, you jackass.
But how long can this go on before,
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to have a resolution, and I'm hoping they can get it done in 7.
And it's interesting, too, that in Justice League, you've got Steve Trevor. Here, you've got no backstory whatsoever.
Right.
Wonder Woman in the world doesn't seem to exist, basically, other than that she likes nightclubs.
Mm-hmm. But I'm buying it. I'm still buying it. I'm going to keep buying it.
Yeah, no, it's certainly not a poor book, but I do think that some things need to start getting cleared up.
They do. I mean, 5 issues is... 6 is a trade, so if they top it off in 6, which isn't going to happen from the way it's looking, then, that would be pretty standard. You tie it together in the last, 10 pages. Not a horrifying thing. 7 seems kind of
Maybe
an odd number to finish, to tie up a... And if this is a year-long arc, that's just...
Well, the thing is, like, there's a lot to be said of not writing for the trade market. You know, like, oh, resolve this in 6, then it's a graphic novel.
Right.
Or a trade, you know, there being a distinct difference to people who give a shit.
To people.
But, and you have to admire somebody who goes out there not thinking in that sense.
Okay, I can see that.
But at the same time, like, with the economic concerns that are affecting the books and this podcast in the sense of what you're buying and not buying,
right?
Wonder Woman could find itself out or on the cusp because of that particular style.
It could. I still like Azarella's dialogue enough. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Character motivations seem a bit murky right now.
And the fact that Riso has already missed an issue.
Mm-hmm. Who?
There's a
different
artist.
No, wrong. Chang.
Chang has
You're thinking everything else Azarella's done.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, they had to go with Tony Akins on 5, but you know that was going to happen eventually. Not everybody can do it, but he had a head start. You know, he had at least one issue drawn before they even announced it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not that irritated that Cliff Chang's gone because it.
Well, not gone. We don't know.
And not on this issue. Because, you know, it actually didn't even hit me until I hit one panel. I'm like, her face didn't look like that last issue. And then I had to look. And I was like, oh, it's Tony Akins. And I don't mind Tony Akins. I just, you know, I got used to Chang and I like Chang. GL.
So
4 and 5.
This is the conclusion of the first arc, for the most part, the Sinestro storyline.
Right.
Go ahead. I want you to start for once. It's like, what do you think? I will then go, yeah or no. At least, I
like it when you talk. It leaves me alone.
Hey, give a review, motherfucker.
We see where Jordan didn't die in the thing.
Wow, I now see why you don't do this.
Yes, I'm terrible at it. You know that. Worked.
Yes.
Worked
well,
perfectly.
we knew that. They're all in prison.
Worked perfectly. Yes. So, no, we see all kinds of interesting confrontations, like the Capitol on Corrigar, where the police officer confronts Sinestro with this incredible crowd with all the rings that Sinestro has made for them, and thinking they're just going to rip him up. And of course they don't work because he's like, duh, I'm not going to make a fucking ring that's going to hurt me. I made it, asshole.
This is why Sinestro is the king of the Green Lantern.
He's thinking 4 steps ahead of everybody. He's got it all together, and all he needs to make any plan that he ever puts together work is not having some jackass like Jordan getting in the way.
But of course, the problem is that every time he's successful, his plans get bigger, and eventually he loses, not even his humanity, but, you know, any semblance of soul. It just,
right.
And he's well back on his way to being that guy again. It's like, Jordan, let me just show you how the shit is done. Just fix things.
No, I really don't think, on the way back, I don't think he's ever left. I really don't, no. He's not in charge of the yellow guys anymore, but I don't think he ever really gave a shit about them except as a tool to, you know, destroy the Guardians and impose his vision of order upon the galaxy.
Right. But at the same time, my point is that his argument has always been, I was a better Green Lantern than you.
Right.
The Guardians have just said, yes, you were.
Although they're mystified how the ring decided it was going to go back to him.
But that's my point. It's like, he's kind of won. So,
he's totally won.
So, at that point, it wasn't so much about winning because he had. So he was a little bit, you know, it's like, I am a Green Lantern. I'm going to be the best Green Lantern ever because that's what I've been saying. And every time he does that, he goes a little bit further towards douchebaggery again. So that's my point.
Well, I mean, that still really doesn't carry because he's never left being a villain.
But a lot of times he was being a villain to make the point that, like, I shouldn't be a villain. I should still be a Green Lantern.
Which, in a very odd and pseudo-philosophical sense, is accurate. You know, all he ever wanted was order, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But he still did villainous things, so he still doesn't get to be a cop.
Well, that's why Sinestro is like Doom. That's why he needs to be the epic level, because in his fucked up logical mind, this is what makes sense, people. Come on board the train. And he found all these sick fucks in the Yellow Lantern to climb aboard that train, including the incredibly creepy, mime-clowny looking doctor character that was just horrifying.
Oh, yeah, that thing was... You know, I get fear, but it doesn't have to be that gross.
Well, you know, you are talking alien species.
Tweet.
But in the end, he takes everybody out, and then he sends Jordan off fucked all over again.
Now, that's something that kind of... He gets Carol back again? Come on.
He's Hal Jordan. He has no fear. I've been rejected 42 times. I'm going to hit on you again. Apparently that shit sometimes works.
Well, it worked this time, and it's like, nah, whatever.
I need a second chance. Actually, it's more like 10.
10.
French. You know what? More power to him. He's not Green Lantern anymore.
He does need a job. So he's got to schmooze up the boss.
He might as well get an incredibly hot girlfriend. At least he's got the time to be around for her.
Yeah, this time. So we'll see how that develops. I'm very happy with John's treatment of the GL.
No, I'm liking everything that's going on. I like what they're doing with Sinestro. It's one of quite possibly the only book to go from before 52 to after 52 without losing a step or changing a ton.
Right. Which is what makes it the pivot point in the history line. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Although that's still confusing.
I said I'd make you a chart.
And yet I have no chart.
I will get you a chart. For God's sake. Got to do everything. You can't just read this shit and figure it out like I did.
You have it though. Half the time
I've
you talk
totally
about
got it
confusing.
figured out. I've utterly got it figured out.
All right.
I will scan this little chart and I will publish it.
Available at the website.
And a major component of this chart will be the first arc in Justice League. Now that we're talking about number 4, where we open up with things burning and dying and parademons and Cyborg showing his capabilities, which just drive me up the wall.
Cyborg exists, so be it. Now he's officially a cyborg. He's mad at his dad because he'd rather be dead, which seems like a bad plan. Although I suspect it's more he didn't realize that it was either turn you into this thing or you'd be dead, Bobby.
But no, you have to have father-son conflict because it's not possible to have drama with a father and a son who don't fucking hate each other.
All I care about is that this is the world's coolest Aquaman, and I'm so shocked. He even made using his fish powers exciting.
Now, that was unique and different, and I rather enjoyed that one.
And again, it's Green Lantern being Space Tool of all time.
Space Tool.
I'm sorry, the Green Lantern in this book is so ridiculous. Barry, don't use my real name, jackass. That still boggles my mind. And in this one, he's like, look, Batman is kind of awful, but he's really smart and creepy. I have a ring that can do anything. Superman is, Superman. Wonder Woman can cut through a bank. What can you do? Oh, watch, as a shark jumps out of the water and eats a guy.
A bunch of sharks, about a dozen sharks.
On top of which, the one parademon that somehow managed to get through Shark Frenzy 2000.
Puts his trident right through his head. He's like, yeah, I got it together. What you want?
And then he turns around and Green Lantern's like, well, okay, I got it.
Never mind.
The highlight of this for me, however, is Green Lantern accidentally grabbing the lasso and giving us way more information about his motivations.
That was funny.
And then on the next, and you don't even see Batman doing this, which is, to me, why Jeff Johns is such a good writer. It's like, stop laughing. We're in the middle of a disaster. Stop laughing at it. And little moments like that are why this book is growing on me.
and here's the priceless thing. I'll get them out. I'll get out the choppers and get them to safety. Not to be a good guy like the Flash. At least he admits that he views Flash as a good guy. But because I want to impress you, most of what I do is trying to impress people, which says weird things about his character in this book.
Yes.
It does say it does tell us, however, if we think about it, that he does grow a bit, not a whole lot, but a bit, by the time he gets to his own current arc in his own book.
No, and I like that. And the other thing I like is that it's Jeff Johns doing it. It's not like somebody, like Jeff Johns is like writing in his book, Green Lantern, the best hero.
Right.
And here we have, let's say, Jim Lee writing as opposed to art. And it's like, Green Lantern, cosmic joke.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, I'm trying to build a guy over here. Stop knocking me down. Which is, to a small degree, what Wade was doing back with that one shot in the middle of Spider-Man.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, Spider-Man is cool, but here's why Daredevil is so much cooler. You don't get to write my book anymore, Mark. You don't color inside the lines. Get your own coloring book.
And it is about goddamn time that, 4 issues in, they finally bring us Darkseid in toto.
Jim Lee draws an awesome Darkseid.
That's an amazing Darkseid.
That's a dude you do not want to fuck with.
No. That is nuclear-powered, mutated, cosmic scale, I just beat the Beyonder type Dr. Doom shit.
It's true.
It should worry you greatly when Darkseid shows the fuck up.
So, I will say that based on the last two, I am glad that you have had a change of heart with Justice League, because I am intrigued to see where it's going.
Well, no, I was always going to leave everything at least 6. So.
Well, now, Action and Superman are out.
Well, I have to make exceptions somewhere.
Men of War made 2.
Yeah, well, it was fucking terrible.
That was canceled, right?
Yeah, it's dead. However, they're replacing it with GI Combat.
Wow, Phantom Tank?
Yep. Yeah, baby. J.E.B. Stewart up in this motherfucker.
Madness. Well, hopefully that's better than the Vertigo one that we read.
Well, it is going to be Grey Palmiotti again. So, I don't even remember who did the last Haunted Tank.
No, it's not coming to me right now, but I just remember the whole racial tension and...
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Who cares? Kick-Ass 2, number 6.
Now, you've had real problems with this book.
I had real problems with the last 2 issues.
This is much more small kid beating the fuck out of a bunch of people. Was this more to your liking, as weird as that sounds?
This gets more silly and less horrifying. Now, many people would say simply that an 11-year-old stabbing someone with dual samurai blades is horrifying.
It is. They're not just saying that. That would be fact. Like, if you walked in on that, you're like, fuck. I need to burn out my own eyeballs.
There's a level, I can't express this properly enough for you. There's a level of absurdity in some scenes, and there's a level of gritty, horrific realism in other scenes that just don't jibe together for me to keep me happy.
Well, I mean, this is a really odd argument because, and I call it an argument because you're saying it's okay to stab people in the face but not to rape them. And I don't really want to come out on the side of rape. Like, I'm not interested in that. Rape is bad. Listen to the Reverend, kids. Rape equals bad. But I don't see the diametric difference and the level of violence in this book and in that action. I think one of the key problems with it is that John Romita draws young girls that look really young.
Right.
Like, it's supposed to be a 16-year-old girl. She looks like 12, which just makes it that much more horrifying. But at the same time, like, no one's rape should be anything other than horrifying.
Right.
But people are always going to do...
It's the level of brutality and absolute
graphic
in it.
Everything in Millar's books everywhere is
Yeah, and I didn't like Nemesis because of that either, remember?
But Kick-Ass itself was. So was almost every book the guy has done. There's that level of gravity. Wanted absolutely had that kind of level to it.
Yeah, but those are all adults.
But see, the girl is no different age of Kick-Ass who had... They're in the same grade. And you didn't have this problem when he had electrodes on his nuts in the first series.
There weren't 6 people doing that, though.
Yes, there were! Torturing a boy and raping a girl, both horrible. Like, the problem is, like, you've hit this weird little morality thing, which is not a bad thing to be bothered by. But I don't think that anything he's done is that different than he's done anywhere else. It just happens that this one hit a nerve.
Yeah.
I'm going to use a weird analogy. Colonel Girlfriend has this thing when we're watching a movie where if somebody hurts a cat, she gets all upset. Like, you can shoot a child in the same thing. Like Criminal Minds, you can slaughter an entire family, but if you touch the cat, she gets upset. I'm like, hey, you know this is fiction. Yeah. You know that he just basically boiled a baby. Yeah. Why is the cat bothering you? But
well, here's the other thing about the murder of whoever, sword through the face. The guy's dead. That's the end of it. Okay? A gang rape is going to last till that kid's retirement, and she may never be straight after that.
Yeah, but nobody is straight in this thing. I mean, the villain is the motherfucker because his father was slow. Like, everyone is screwed up. All right? Kick-Ass just had his father hung and murdered in prison because he chose to be a superhero. He screwed up for a long-ass time. All this stuff has long, deep-seated fuck-up potential. Nobody comes out of this healthy. Hit Girl watched her father's face blown off in the last one. I'm sorry, that might bother some people. So nothing you're saying is any different than what I'm saying. It's just you're letting this one thing bother. And I'm not. I can't argue with you letting it bother you because it does. But what I'm saying is he hasn't gone anywhere there that he didn't go everywhere else. You're just more comfortable with violence. Or it didn't affect you in the way that this somehow did. You've read other books with other rapes, sadly.
And I didn't really like those.
No, why would you? But my point is that for whatever reason, this hit a chord that bothered me. But blaming him for that when everything else in this book is to the same level, I don't see. That's all I'm saying. At the same time, like, it's a rape, it should bother you. But everything else in this book should bother you too. And none of that does.
No, not none of it. That's just that's the cherry on top, and...
Like, in the same issue that she was raped, they machine gunned like 5 little kids on panel.
Yeah, I don't like anything happening to little kids.
Well, that makes you a decent human being. Mark Millar writes a very brutal book, and everything about Kick-Ass has always been incredibly brutal. A really brutal rape is nastier than some of the other stuff, but if you're gonna enjoy some of these things, and the amount of rape, by the way, in Preacher,
I don't need that anymore either.
So you've evolved.
Yeah.
Well, I've never noticed, so.
You never noticed.
But that's one of your favorite books of all time. My point being is, I'm not going to argue with you like you should be pro-rape. Like, come on. Yeah. My point is only this, that everything that happens in Kick-Ass really isn't differentiating from anything else that happened in the previous one. It's always been vile. You're just not finding vile as fun as you used to, which is not a bad thing. So, right. Kick-Ass is moving towards this conclusion. Can I assume then you will not be picking up the Hit Girl miniseries?
I got to see what people say about it first.
But Mark Millar has lost a lot of his appeal for you.
On his independent shit, yeah.
But isn't that all he's doing now, Millar World?
No, I heard he's got a couple of projects from bigger publishers, from other properties.
Because Nemesis 2 is coming, and...
Yeah, but all that shit's going to take 9 years. So, he writes all this shit concurrently and then waits for artists. So,
which is an interesting level of doing things, because you've got such a backlog of stuff that as soon as anybody wants to draw it, you've already finished it. Like you can, he can pump out, so to speak, a level of work that, because he's doing it that way, so many people don't have.
Right.
So it is a very creative idea.
All right. I think we're done with that one. I think everyone's made the points that can be made there.
Are you looking forward, though? One last question. Now that we're well past the horrifying part that bothered you about the whole book,
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to the denouement of this story?
I enjoy seeing bad people get their comeuppance. So if it all works out at the end, the evil becomes punished, I will be happy with that.
Wow.
What?
Very Silver Age of you. All right. So,
Fuck it. Now, you are a big spy fan.
I am a huge
You
spy fan.
love spy stories. Now, I love Star Wars. I haven't always been impressed by Star Wars comic books. You have outright hated them.
Many of them, yes.
Has
Close to
anything right? Has anything changed with spy Star Wars?
I will say this. This is as close as I come to liking a Star Wars comic since the original Marvel ones. I really liked aspects of it.
Right?
Well, first off, what are we talking about?
This is Agent of the Empire, Iron Eclipse.
This is basically James Bond in space.
Yes.
And I thought that was awesome. But then it became so much James Bond, down to the armorer complaining about the way he treats stuff.
Yeah.
You literally had an alien M in this. So
you gotta wonder how much else they're gonna lift.
I really enjoyed the start of it. I'm like, okay, this is James Bond in space. This is very cool. Then they got to him, I'm like, oh my god, this is literally just James Bond in space. Let's just take
They forgot to
everything
add
about
a
James
couple
Bond,
other things in there.
And then, I'm actually
yeah.
looking forward to the next one. So this is a highlight for me for Star Wars.
Excellent.
When's the last time you heard that sentence?
Never.
But the use of Han Solo and Chewbacca as old friends.
Yeah, I was
going to
go there
There's a real challenge in the Star Wars books. If you use the characters that are famous, that's challenging. But if you try to create an entire world in the Star Wars universe without using people that people are looking for, that's challenging. Star Wars is very hard to write.
I can see that. Yes. Again, just like Jonah Hex, just like Batman. Why does everything have to tie into everything? Why can't there just be an Imperial spy that gets shit done?
I thought the concept was awesome. I thought the execution was a little bit iffier. But I'm definitely looking forward to the next one, which I normally would not with a Star Wars book.
Right.
And maybe the use of Han Solo and Chewbacca in the book will make up for their existence. I don't know yet.
Nah,
The fact that they went to Academy together, it's like, oh, I was the best pilot. No, I was best. Although I really enjoyed the fact that Han Solo listed one guy above both of them.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. Which I assume we'll see that guy by issue 3.
Well, the thing is, the only thing that really justifies tying them together is he did go to the Academy, and nobody goes to a school in a vacuum.
Fair enough. But I didn't know that it was necessary.
No, I thought it was totally unnecessary, but it's not as big a stretch as, we used to smuggle together.
Right. No, admittedly. So I like that. I like aspects of it a lot. I do think, though, they were a little slavish in their impersonation of James Bond.
Yeah.
To the detriment of the character. But it's only issue 1, and I think it's a really intriguing concept. So I'm hoping it goes further along nicely.
Pretty much covers that.
All right. What's next on the agenda?
The last JLI I'm going to buy.
Good, because it's the last one you're allowed to bring in my house.
This thing, I'm sorry. Dan, you're killing me with this fucking book here.
Nope. Not a fan.
I don't care about Paraxis. I don't care about Guy Gardner being a loudmouth jackass.
Yeah, because he's not funny.
When he's funny, there's nothing wrong with having any loudmouth jackass.
Or in the Green Lantern universe, where they've developed his character in a way.
And they've added layers to the loudmouth jackass. But he is a one-note wonder in this fucking book.
It's back to a simplistic Guy Gardner. I like Tora. I hate Booster. Batman's annoying me. Now, this is also an example of something I talked about earlier in the worst connotation of it.
Yeah.
Here we have a huge epic story.
Right.
To the degree of there are 4 enormous robots eating the planet.
They're literally ripping it apart to harvest its component molecules.
No other hero is remotely involved.
Where the fuck is everybody?
Doesn't make a lick of sense. It's too epic to be by itself.
Right. And that's a problem we find in a lot of comics at a lot of points. But this one, it's screaming that because there's these 6 nuthatches.
Yeah.
And where's Soups? Where's the other GLs?
There's way too much going on.
And it's not even that interesting.
Nope. And they beat him by basically hitting him. Like he slaughtered them the first time. I just don't understand. And then they crashed the ship into a robot, but there are almost no casualty.
Yeah, it's pushing a lot of storytelling rules.
On the high point, you've got I don't like much in this book. Godiva steps up and decides to be a hero.
Well, I mean
I did really enjoy the fact are you grabbing me with your hair, you filthy human? All right, that I thought was funny.
That was amusing.
But that's about it. Red Rocket's armor can talk to alien spaceships. There's a reason we make fun of Independence Day, people. That's not a good concept.
There's also, a reason they make fun of Russians. Because that armor just barely used to work, remember?
No, I think you made it...
And now suddenly it's a Jeff Goldblum imitator.
Honestly, I think you made it... You used a phrase that I think really... Everyone in this book is one note.
Yeah.
Except maybe Booster, they've done, Now, to be fair, we're only 5 issues in, but none of these characters developed enough. Even they're using... Batman should be nowhere near this book.
No, you really shouldn't. But somebody has to reflect a faith to some degree in Booster.
Well, you know what? Honestly, using...
But that faith can't be justified in this book yet.
The general in gold armor or whatever, the guy I'm never going to get
August General in Iron.
I should forget that. I'm sorry. Augie. As a military man, has kind of shown faith in Booster. That is the logical tactician character that you don't even need Batman if you develop him as that guy.
That's an awesome point.
So if you were developing him, you wouldn't even need to use Batman in a way that isn't logical. So there's just so much that isn't working in this book. And the light attempt at humor that's just not there.
It doesn't even make you grin, really.
No, Tora and Ice are just horribly underdrawn.
Really?
Not artistically. As characters. Yeah, schmuck.
Because I don't think anybody can accuse Lopresti of not being able to draw a girl.
No, the art is probably my highlight. Aaron Lopresti is a guy I like. I enjoyed Sludge a lot, for which you've mocked me before. But the fact of the matter is that you've just got... And with Godiva taking over and I hate to say this, but the amusingly slutty character role, you're trying to make Fire adult. So you've taken the key aspect of that personality, which was, a flirtatious Brazilian fieriness that made the character and made the Tora Fire good girl, bad girl. Now they're both vaguely competent. So they're both Vixen, but you've already got Vixen. So now I've got 3 of them, none of whom I like.
And it just makes it a hot mess.
Right, I get wanting to change them, and Tora was so, obviously if you don't want to go for the full humor book, having the Fire Ice,
interplay.
Saint and horror, and I'm stretching the definition dramatically, but that interplay, if you're going to take that away, but if you're making them both professional, what's the point?
Yeah, you got to have you got to have some difference in there.
Give them new personalities.
So that they can actually have something to talk about.
Right, what is their personality now? If they're not them, then who are they?
Well, and that's the problem with starting things from scratch, but not.
Right. And then on top of that, you've got Rocket Red, who's literally and I've said this before, a carbon copy of the previous Rocket Red, who I at least liked. Because he wasn't just a copy.
At the time, he was quite new.
Right. The only difference here is haircuts.
Yep. And the new guy's got a soul patch, doesn't he?
Yes.
Which is instantly irritating. A hipster Russian fucking Iron Man knockoff. That's beautiful. No, that book goes bye-bye.
Yes. No. Don't care for it at all.
And one of my other big disappointments, Batman in Detective Comics.
Big disappointment.
So, disappointment of disappointments is Batman. Detective Comics, number 5.
Honestly, I don't like Detective Comics
No.
currently.
Right.
I didn't think this issue was the worst I've read.
It is not. It is definitely a step up from previous ones in this current run. But there's still the whole, we love the Joker, he's our idol, we hate Batman. Not the first time it's happened.
No, I didn't understand. Like, there's a Joker cult blaming Batman for the Joker removing his own face. Then you've got this weird, mimey Joker ninja thing.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
And this Mosaic character, which is just flat out creepy.
But he gets mugged in 4 seconds, and we have no
Yeah.
clue who did that. And then Bruce Wayne's gal pal, active news report. I'm sorry, that just sounds like Superman.
It does.
Goes undercover and is about to get busted by the Penguin.
And why would the Penguin be busting her?
Well, she's busty. Who knows?
Boom.
Waka waka. The main thing is, and this is old school annoyance.
Yeah.
You've got a giant cover picture of a villain who only shows up on the splash page of the last page.
Yeah, that's...
Bah
Come
to
on.
you, sir.
Come on. Not me.
No, but whoever's
Tony fucking Daniels is responsible for that.
He didn't necessarily do the cover. That's not fair.
He might have, because he is an artist.
But
As a matter of fact, he did.
all right, well then that would be him.
So, the whole plan is his, and it's not paying, although I am curious about his companions.
I'm with the big push that the Penguin is getting with this incredibly popular miniseries that's out there right now.
Which I'll get eventually, don't worry about it.
Not my point, but that's done extraordinarily well and getting rave reviews. So I am curious if they're going to make Penguin pertinent as a result.
Well, they've tried several times to make him a pseudo-legitimate Kingpin type character.
Right, which was pertinent, but not villainous, if you will. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he was there.
He needs to go do some crimes, man. He needs
Right.
to blow some shit up with an umbrella.
So I want to see where they're going with that. That intrigues me. So at least if they do something with the Penguin well, suddenly Tony Daniels get points because a lot of people haven't done the Penguin well. So this is a big moment as far as I'm concerned with him for me.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely move forward if he can make the Penguin an interesting and enjoyable character again. Absolutely.
As
I
long as
would
he
not
doesn't cut his
deny that
face
guy
off and
that.
leave it on a wall.
No, I don't like that.
Let's get a whole theme of that.
No. No ideas out in the ether for people to pick up on. Thanks. Jerk.
Oh,
What's wrong with you?
I'm old.
I'm older. Fuck you.
All right, so and we've got one final issue.
We are going to finish off with yet another Batman family issue. And I think you'll see the theme with the whole 5 thing at the moment. Batwoman number 5. Where we finally finish off the water-based kid-killing weird girly thing.
Yeah, which...
It seemed to have been thin. It's almost like they want to tell a bunch of ghost stories. She came back to this area and killed other kids because her kid was killed in the area by water.
Because she was drunk.
Because she was drunk.
But now she's like the possession of a death spirit that results in Batwoman seeing her sister.
Yeah.
And then there's so this storyline ends, and now there's some weird Fed presence, including a skeleton that smokes cigars and a suit.
Now, he kind of intrigued me, because I like cigars and I like suits.
So really, if you see a guy smoking a cigar in a suit, you get intrigued? Is that where we're going?
In a comic?
This just,
You
again,
jackass.
yet another reminiscence of Charlie Bones from Tom Strong.
Who?
Charlie Bones, the see-through...
Oh, Bones. I thought you said Gums. I'm like, that is no fucking Tom Strong character I ever heard.
Charlie Gums!
I would say that I would destroy Tom Strong. It's awesome.
Sweet zombie Jesus.
And I hope she accepts the job. But you know what? I'll bet we'd have found out if she'd accepted the job if there wasn't 9 pages of fucking house ads in the back of this goddamn thing.
I just don't... the highlight of this book for me is the art is so impressive.
It is staggeringly good.
But I don't care about Batwoman one iota. It's Huntress 2, and I didn't like Huntress 1.
Which is funny the way you phrase that, because it turns out
Yes, you told me that Huntress is now coming.
Huntress and Power Girl are going to be back, and they are in fact from Earth 2.
Now, I am going to take a stab in the dark that you're not going anywhere near a Huntress book.
No.
But will you be checking out Power Girl, who you've enjoyed in the past?
Well, they're going to do it together in one book.
Wait,
yeah,
what?
I can't remember the name, but they're like co-features or something.
Power Huntress?
No. They're not like two characters mixed.
Huntress Girl!
Are you done? Because that was just dumb. We need to fill you with booze next time.
Curses. Sweet creativity in a bottle.
Alright, kids, it's time for our plug. When you hear this, you should note that you have precisely 7 episodes left to let us know that you fucking exist and you hate us, or you dig us, or you get mildly amused by us when we actually say something funny. And thereby, score yourself some free shit.
A considerable amount, although we may divvy it up depending on how many responses.
Well, no, not one person is going to get all of it. I'm not shipping all that stuff in one fucking box. Not doing it. But if you tell us you're there, you follow us on Twitter, you say something on Facebook, you pop us an email, you drop us a comment on the website, any kind of contact like that, and we'd like to include iTunes reviews in this, please. You tell us who you are, you tell us what you dig, you tell us what you hate, any of it. Just let us know. We will get you graphics. We will get you floppies. We will get you an action figure. We may even chuck in a signed book.
Yeah.
You've got 7 episodes left to do this. Rock us out, baby.
Get out there. Get on sooner. If you can write twice in this time, imagine your odds.
Yes, you will have better chances the more you interact.
We're begging here. Make sure you check out our Twitter friends, since I've never actually met any of them.
That's
at
right.
The Comic Cabal podcast.
That's right. We
They're
love them.
up
They're
to
good to us.
25 as of this recording. Probably
record every
30
Friday.
by the time.
And, they're fun. So, give them a yell. Tell them. Support them. Listen to them. It's all good. At this point, kids, we're going to call it a night. Enjoy yourselves. Read comics.
Bless you, fuckers.
I just set up yours, baby.
The Mean Geek is recorded live at the Reverend Mad Duck's apartment whenever the hell we can get to it. You can find us on iTunes, Podcast Alley, Facebook, Comic Space, our own site, www.themeangeek.com. Subscribe to us through RSS, and most importantly, find us as a proud member on the Comics Podcast Network. Contact us directly through email at themeanergeek@gmail.com.